In this video help, I'm going to be covering the customer screen. And the way we access the customer screen is through the app map. We click on the app map, it's going to bring up the menus of all the different screens. As you can see, these are all customer screens. These are property screens to include all this. And then there's inspections, which is in this portion of the property screens. And then these are all drop-down lists that are being used in order to supplement the drop-downs for different kinds of things on the screens. So let's go ahead and go to the customer screen and view that screen. The video for this screen is actually included in the Do Action button. And the Do Action button will have a customer video help on that screen to run the individual screen video help that you're viewing right now. There is also a Start Find, Finish Find, Next and Previous buttons, Show All Records, and Show and Hide the menus that would be on the desktop that are currently not shown. Normally I have all the buttons and technology that you're going to need in the application, so you would not have to use the menus. The only place that you would do that is if you have a cloud app, and there are menus on the cloud app that are present all the time, and one of those is the logout, which is up in the upper right hand corner, and it's recommended that every time you leave the browser when you're using the cloud app that you log out on the logout on the top of the browser screen. So anyhow, Start and Find, there is a video on the support site on the FAQs that explain how to use Start and Find and how to do different kinds of finds. And I suggest you go there. So that's ontargetsolutions.biz, and it would be the FAQs, which is in the drop-down menus at the top of the screen. And there's videos on there that will show you how to do that kind of thing. Right now, this serves the purpose of if you do click on Start, it's going to empty the fields out, and then appropriately by the name on the different thing, you can type in whatever you're looking for, and or looking in general for dates and date spans to go ahead and pick up that information, or you can even use the drop-down lists on the screen up here, in this case, to pick up something on a drop-down list in a search. Now you start the find first, then you use the drop-down list to take the information that you want to look for. And as you see on this screen, some of these also have a underline under the field header. And in a lot of cases, that underline is actually to go to another screen. When you click on it, it allows you to edit the particular drop-down that you're looking at right here. Because on the iPad, the scrollers, the scrolling fields, don't allow you to edit the scrollers. So you would have, if you only own the iPad or the iPad version of this app, you would have no way to edit those fields unless you actually use the links over here. And if you look in the drop-down menu, you're going to see where it has a type structure, type inspection, inspection area list, type issue list, action type required list, action status list, and responsible party list. Now there are other ones that are called list views, which is actually something different. Now you'll see that there are some in here. Here's an action track list, which is also slightly different. These that are collected here are used in these screens in drop-downs, and they have their own edit fields. So if I, for example, went to the structure list, structure type, these are for home styles like 2-story, 1-story, ranch, or whatever, where you can actually drop that kind of information in appropriately on the field that you want to use it on. To get back, you would have to create a new record by clicking on the new to bring these screens up on all the list views, and then you would type in whatever you want to have put in it up here. These buttons change what's ever up there, so if you want to edit it up here, you can go ahead and edit it. And then these are used as quick return buttons, either go to inspections or go to the customer, or you can just use the fast navigation here to go back to customer. Let's just do that. So we're going back to customer. So all those lists that you saw will be spread out through the different places on one of the tabs or whatever. So let's take a look at this application and see how it actually works. As far as this is customer information, which is the first part of the CRM. In order to add a new record, you have to click on the new record button. Now, when you click the new record button, you're creating a record for an individual, or in this case, a buyer-seller type of a relationship. You would put in the information down here in related contacts, anybody from the family or family contacts that if you needed them, that you would have them here for whatever purposes. It might be other family members that don't live in the same residence. but you would go ahead and have that information here. So in case you needed it, you could have it. Plus, if they offer referrals, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take the information like from the daughter, son-in-law, the whatever. You can put those types of things in here. There is a portal record, and these are called portal records where there's multiple rows. That's called a portal. At the end of the record, there's a button here. You can click on that, and it opens up this portal so you can get a better view of all the information. Plus, there's a larger text field for additional information on that particular screen. So anytime you see a portal like this, there's usually a button at the end of it to take you to a larger view of that same screen information. All the information above here can be used in a find, but portals are not used in a find. And you'll notice down at the bottom of the screen, the license to and the license number and the copyright are all down on every screen within the application, which restricts you from using this application, but any other way than the way it's licensed. Okay, let's take a look at the way that this actually functions. We create a new record. The first thing we do is go ahead and put in the primary contact. That could either be the husband or wife, or the principal in case of an agent or a broker or something like that is coming to your agency to buy something as far as a property or get the property from you. Then their name, if it was an agency, then this would be the name of the contact, and then the address information, telephone number, email. Also, there would be a cell phone block for a cell phone, and if they're an individual, like a family member, and you would want their employer, their work phone, then the spouse's either cell phone or regular phone, and then her email or his email, depending on what it is, then her employer or his employer, and their work phone. Then there's a place over here for notes in case you need to keep notes for this particular person. And these are just general notes about the individual themselves, about some likes and dislikes or whatever you might have. At the top of the screen, you'll notice that there's a follow-up by date. If there's activity that needs to be taken care of as far as this particular person is concerned, there's a calendar date pop-up, and you can put the calendar date in this screen, and then that'll show up on the follow-up report. It'll also show up on the when you edit the screens on the calendar within the appointment area. If you set a deadline or whatever there, that's the information, and this would show up here. And you can go to the calendar and see what the issue is as far as that's concerned, or you can use the same screens, and we're going to go to those tabs right now. By the way, the seller is the type of client that you have. It's either a seller, agent, broker, buyer, or whatever. Now you can add to this, like I said, by adding the type of clients in there if you have more versions of people that you want to put in there. There's also a drop down for a status on the type of client activity that you're at the current time. So as you change this, it'll also update on the calendar in the appointment screen the kind of status that you currently have. And there are all the little different things that might be going on as far as this going through the sales process. So for example, sale made, no sale, and follow-ups required, and then a follow-up date would be based on that. So you can see how the relationship goes back and forth between the calendar and the actual information that is put into the CRM side of the house. Now the address that's here, when you open the next tab, it's called the location tab. But before I go there, I want to point one other thing out. There are two buttons here. One goes to the listing for this property. If you're going to add a listing from a seller, it would go to the listings and you create the listing after you created this data. Or if you're getting a property inspection done for this client, then you would go to the property inspection and it would show the appropriate record for this client. Everything that you might look at this like opening a book, from everything reading from left to right, those screens would be the same for this client when you're going through the different screens for this client. Okay, location is based on the address that you put in for the primary client. So if I go over there and click this, what's going to happen is you're going to see either, in this case, MapQuest come up, or you can click on Google Maps and go online and go to the Google Maps. So you have both map processes depending upon which one you actually like. Now in this case, on the desktop, it automatically takes the address information from the address information we put in the record. Now, if you're on the iPad, it'll do the same thing, but if you're on the browser, it will not always do that because the browser, there are security issues on a browser where sometimes you have to type in the actual information. For example, Google Maps will not allow you to use this on this application because they've set security after they got hacked. They have now got security a lot tighter. So I actually have a button to go to Google Maps anymore so that it'll work properly on the browser. The next one is called the customer track. And this has the same information you put on the other side with a little bit more information over here. Plus, if you wanted to put the picture of the client here, you could. And it can either be an individual or it can be the person themselves with a family, like two people. And then if you have an iPad, you can snap a picture of them if they don't mind doing that. That helps you to recognize somebody when they walk in the door and you recall, who they are. You can just go ahead and search if you think you know the name and make sure you verify you're talking to the person you think you are. Sale, yes, no. This is something that's also shared with the calendar screen. If you made the sale or not, then that information would be in there. And this whole area is shared between the calendar and here. And this is the UDF fields that we added to the calendar appointment screen. The next thing is also shared with the calendar screen. And this is the appointment portal, but it has the information at the top for the primary user. And it also has create a new listing button here if you want to go to the listing screen and add a new listing or view the listings that are already there to see if there's a house in that area that you want to look for. You can't do a find in this portal, but what you can do is go to the listing screen by clicking on this icon and then searching either an area or a zip code or using an actual area address to see if you can find a house that's nearby that area. Or, and we're going to show you a little later, there's also an MRLS way to search for properties. The next one is the activity track. And the activity track is from the same thing on the main screen where the appointments carries the activities based on this client for anything like calls and so forth that you're completing, as we covered before. Now, notice that there is a record ID in here. And in this screen, when I click on this icon, you're going to see what I was talking about. It brings up a form that can be printed. And the form allows you to go ahead and take the information that you add to the activity record, and then you're able to go ahead and print that particular one off. Depending on how you click on them in the portal, let's go back there. Let's go back to here, to the portal for the activity track. Depending on which one you click here, it opens a record for that one. Now, if you don't have any data in here and you click the button, nothing will happen because you have no data to go into. You have to have something in the fields in order to go to the portal record. The meeting track works the same way. The meeting track has all the information for each individual meeting, and they're scrollable, so you can scroll through these. And then there's also a form that you can print if you need to print it out, as I spoke about before. On the iPad, you'll be able to bring this up, and you can either email it as a PDF, or you can attach it to an email if you wanted to send it to a client. For example, if there were things in a meeting and you wanted to recap that with them, you could have this sent to them. If you have text that overflows in this particular one, you can click on it if you need to read it, and you can see that it pops the typical pop-up so you can see everything in there. Let's go back to the main customer field. Then there's the next one, which is the action track. And this one also has a form that you can print. And you go back. Now, what happens in this screen on the action track is just similar to the ones we were just looking at, where you have the data and the person that is the action person and so forth that has to do whatever the action calls out. One of the things I want to point out here is the do action. The do action, as we were saying before, you might look on different do actions to see if this changes where there's a different video call out for playing these videos that you're viewing right now. There will be a different one on each screen, so you'll know that when you go to a different screen, like for example property listings or property inspection, that the do action will have a different button in here for watching YouTube videos that tell you how to use the fields. The last thing we're going to cover is you can see these are next and previous to go up and down between the records. One of the things I'll point out is that if you do a find using the do action, you will be able to scroll through the number of records that are in the that are in current selection by using the next and previous buttons. There's also another backup for the other ones for next and previous in here as well. If you need to on different screens, it'll always be in that area. Another way to go through the records is, say for example, if I wanted to go to Mary Smith's record, I could click over here and it'll automatically bring up Mary Smith and all the attaching information. And now I'm looking at Mary Smith's data from all the way across left to right and the latest things that are going on with Mary. And all these records would be pertaining to Mary Smith. For example, like property showings would be all the properties we showed her. Okay, if you have any questions, as usual, you can go to the support site and go to the FAQ link and the support center. And if you have questions, you can put them in the Ask Questions area on the right-hand side of the screen and send those to me. Make sure you put your email so I can answer those questions for you. Thank you.